everybody, it's Ginger. I'm back. How are you? Good, I hope. I hope y'all had a happy new year. I'm going to do Luke chapter 23, part 3. And it's just a little tiny part. And then we'll be in the last chapter, which is the resurrection. So in the former part of, or the second part of Luke 23, we talked about the crucifixion of Jesus. And now we're going to talk about Jesus being buried in a tomb. So people in that time, unless they were wealthy, they were buried under the ground like everybody else. But people who had some wealth could be buried in a tomb. And we will learn about the burial of Jesus Christ. So anyway, let me review just a little bit. I'm feeling a little raspy, but I hope I sound okay. This author that I've been reading, he talks about how much of what we know about the crucifixion comes from, movies and paintings and things. And a lot of it may not be true, or is not true. But I wanted to show you some of the, like, for example, of course, I think I pointed out last time that Jesus was actually crucified naked, which is what people were crucified naked. They didn't have a loincloth. Of course, in movies, they're not going to show that, and they shouldn't, I guess. Now, our author talks about these types of crosses that the Romans used for crucifixion. Now, you've got these two up here. Let me read a little bit about them. See the first one there? It's kind of odd. And then this one is shaped like an X. Let me read just a little bit about them. The Romans used 4 types of crosses. The first type was a pole, similar to a telephone pole, like I just showed you, though not nearly as smooth. The cross was called the crux simplex. The hands of the victim were crisscrossed and nailed to the pole above the head. And then the second type, that's shaped like an X, it's called the crux. I'm going to spell it for you, Decussata, resembling the Roman numeral X or 10, from which it derived its name. According to church tradition, Peter was crucified upside down on that type of cross, that X-shaped cross. Okay, now the third one is called, I'm going to show it to you here. Look at this third one right here. Okay. Where am I at? Dang. Sorry. Oh, the third type is called crux. I don't know if I'm saying it right. Crux. I don't speak Greek. Commissa, Commissa, meaning connected cross, and it was shaped like the Greek letter tau, T-A-U, or T, and was commonly referred to as a tau cross. I don't know if I'm saying it right. And then the fourth type is what we think Jesus was crucified on, which is this one. If you look up here, it would have a space for the sign of the charges held against him. So like his said something like, Jesus Christ, King of the Jews. I mean, I don't think I'm saying the whole thing. You almost have to read all 4 Gospels to get the whole thing that was written by Pilate up above on those charges. Let me read that. The fourth type is called the crux amissa, meaning inserted cross. This is the type of cross traditionally seen in depictions of the crucifixion resembling the lowercase t, but there is reason to believe that's the one. He says the first and second types of crosses were generally only used on the Italian peninsula, so it probably wasn't those. So if your choice was between these two down here, in which Jesus was crucified on, the fourth one is the most likely, and let me tell you why. Okay. During the crucifixion procedure, a piece of parchment or wood known as titulus, which displayed the reason the person was being executed, would be nailed somewhere on the cross. On the tau cross, it was placed underneath the feet. And on the lowercase t cross, it was placed over the head. Matthew clearly stated that the sign displaying Yeshua's name and crime was placed over his head. And so that's why they think that's the one. Now, he was killed on Friday, you know. It was called the Day of Preparation because the Jews had to prepare everything for the Passover, or for the Sabbath, so they wouldn't have to work on the Sabbath. Now, the Sabbath began Friday evening at sunset, and it went on to Saturday evening at sunset. And if you go to Israel, that's the way they do it now, too. So, like our tour guide, we were out messing around on a Friday, and he really wanted to get home by sunset. I think we kept him out a little late, but he wasn't so strict that he wasn't willing to. But anyway, so same there. They wanted to get, it was preparation day because they wanted to prepare for not working on the Sabbath. And they had to get all the bodies down off the crosses before sunset on Friday. Yeah. So I want to read the few verses that we're going to go over, which is Luke 23, 50 through 56. And we're going to talk about Joseph of Arimathea and also a little bit about Nicodemus. Now, Nicodemus, I think, I don't think we talked about him in Luke. You could learn about him like in John or whatever. But, and I do encourage you to eventually read all of these Gospels because you're going to get a lot more detail. This is just part of the detail. So, but we're going to learn about Joseph of Arimathea, and all the Gospels speak of him. So let's jump in. Verse 50. And a man named Joseph, who was a member of the council, a good and righteous man, he had not consented to their plan and action, a man from Arimathea, a city of the Jews, who was waiting for the kingdom of God. This man went to Pilate and asked for the body of Jesus, and he took it down and wrapped it in a linen cloth and laid him in a tomb cut into the rock where no one had ever lain. It was the preparation day, Friday, getting ready to prepare for the Sabbath, food and everything, so they don't have to cook or anything on the Sabbath. It was preparation day, and the Sabbath was about to begin. Now the women who had come with him out of Galilee followed and saw the tomb and how his body was laid. They returned and prepared spices and perfumes. And on the Sabbath day they rested according to the commandment. Okay. Joseph of Arimathea. Arimathea means city of the Jews. It's the location of it is disputed. But that's what it means. It means city of the Jews. Now, Joseph, we know a little bit about him, but not a lot. He was a wealthy man. We know right here that he was righteous, a member of the council. He was a member of the Sanhedrin that condemned Jesus, but he was not in agreement with that. He did not go along with that. So he was actually a member of the Jewish Sanhedrin, the court, that believed in Jesus. So he had been a secret follower of Jesus, a wealthy man. I have a few details about him here that I wrote down just for you guys, see? So he's a member of the Sanhedrin, but he opposed their condemnation. He was a follower of Jesus, secret at first. He was wealthy. When Jesus died, he went to Pilate because he wanted to retrieve the body. Now, Joseph had a tomb cut out, a new tomb cut out, his own new tomb. A nice one. He's a wealthy man. Only wealthy people had tombs, freshly hewn in the rock, and he is planning to place Jesus's body there. Now, he is going, does it say, or do you have to read the other Gospels to find this out? Okay, it doesn't say, but in the other Gospels, you would learn that he went with Nicodemus. Now, Nicodemus is also a member of the Sanhedrin, also wealthy, and was also seemingly a secret follower of Jesus. In John, you'll read that he met with Jesus at night, probably so he could avoid letting people know that he was a follower of Jesus, so he wouldn't get kicked out of the synagogue or whatever. So, Joseph of Arimathea and Nicodemus go to get Jesus's body. Pilate does allow them to have the body, and they took it and they wrapped it in a linen cloth, and they put him in a tomb cut into a rock where no one had been laid, and that was Joseph's tomb. So the women from Galilee, Jesus, who had many women disciples, they followed from Galilee. They didn't help put the body in the tomb necessarily, but they followed. It says, now the women who had come with him out of Galilee followed and saw the tomb and how his body was laid. So they saw the tomb. They looked at how the men laid the body. Now, they went to prepare spices after that. But they rested during the Sabbath. So from Friday night to Saturday night, they don't do anything. When they do return to this tomb to put the spices on the body, it's going to be Sunday morning because they don't work during the Sabbath. So they wanted that body in the tomb for the Sabbath. And then the plan is to come back Sunday morning and anoint the body. So, all this was foretold by Isaiah hundreds of years before Jesus was ever born. So let me read to you Isaiah 53:9. All these fulfilled prophecies are one of the reasons that we know Jesus was the true Savior. So Isaiah 53:9 says, he was assigned a grave with the wicked and with the rich in his death, though he had done no violence nor was any deceit in his mouth. So Jesus, he was killed with the wicked men, the robbers on his right and left. All the sin of us was placed on his shoulders. But he was buried in a tomb in the rock. Now, it's interesting because he had a humble birth, but he was buried with the rich, which Isaiah foretold. If you read John 7:51, just to throw a little bit out about Nicodemus, he was trying to defend Jesus before the Sanhedrin at that time. I wonder if I should just go back or go to John right quick. 7:51. Now, this wasn't after his arrest or anything. But it's earlier than that. But anyway, I'm going to start with verse 50. Nicodemus, he who came to him before, being one of them, said to them, being one of the Sanhedrin, said to them, he's talking to his group, our law does not judge a man unless it first hears from him and knows what he is doing, does it? They answered him, you are not also from Galilee, are you? Search and see that no prophet arises out of Galilee. Everyone went to his home. So anyway, I won't go over the whole thing, but you could go back and study what was happening. So Nicodemus and Joseph of Arimathea, they went from being secret followers of Jesus in his life to public followers of Jesus once he is crucified. Some people are a little critical of that. I don't necessarily think they should be. I just think it was God's timing for them to come out as believers of Jesus. And they do so boldly when they take that body and place it in Joseph's tomb. I'm just making a little note here. Hold on. Now, if you go to the garden tomb, I would talk to you a little bit about Golgotha. If you go to the garden tomb in Israel, I hope you get to. It's like a garden area, which, they said there's a lot of flowers and plants there, and the tomb is there, and the image of the skull on the side of the hill. And even back then, this was a garden type area. And a lot of people like to make comparisons between this and the Garden of Eden. So, like in the Garden of Eden, Adam decided for all of us that we would fall under the curse of sin when he ate that fruit. And he brought sin into the world. And Jesus, in that garden area, they call him the second Adam because he did what the first Adam did not. He took the burden of all sin upon himself. So what Adam lost for us in the fall of man, in his sin, Jesus gained back by providing payment for that sin so that we could have our eternity with God back. So it's an interesting analogy, and I always, as you know, I always go back to the Garden of Eden. If you don't understand the Garden of Eden, I don't really know how you could understand any of this other stuff completely. So, is there anything else I would like to read with you? To you. It seemed like there was, but maybe not. I don't think so. I think that was it. It's short and sweet, but we only have one more chapter, and I'm sure 2 or 3 lessons, and then that'll be the end of it. So, anyway. I'm just looking. Sorry, guys. Like here our author says, he was buried in a new, unused rich man's tomb. Furthermore, although he was buried in a tomb, that tomb was in a private garden, a significant detail. Centuries earlier in the Garden of Eden, the first Adam brought physical and spiritual death, but in this garden, the last Adam brought blessing and new life. Yeah. Pretty awesome. Yeah, it's really awesome. So, anyway, I will be back next time. We're going to do part of chapter 24, the resurrection of Jesus, the best part. So, anyway, join me, and I hope you have a great rest of your first week of January. Have a good one.